Hi everyone, so in this video I wanted to go over 4 principles that we follow whenever we use advanced custom fields in any of our projects. It just helps us keep things organized and easier to manage, and not just for us as the development agency, but also for the client when managing the content. So let's get right into it. Number 1, labeling of the field groups. Very important to keep things organized on a higher level. And the 4 main labels that we use, as you can see here, are CPT, GLBL, page, and TMPL. CPT, kind of obvious, stands for custom post type. Whenever you have a custom post type and you need specific fields for that post type, we usually label it as CPT followed by the name of the post type, in this case, locations. The next one is GLBL. GLBL stands for global, and this could be anything such as a hero or a sidebar, which is being used globally on the entire website, and it's not specific to a page or a template or a custom post type. The next label is page, which is specific to a page, in this case home page. It could be an about us page or a contact page, but whatever fields that belong into this group are specific to that page that we label it as. TMPL, similar to page, but template specific. So if you have a specific template that needs to be used throughout different pages and they all share the same fields, just different content, we label it as TMPL and followed by the name of the template. Number 2, the use of tabs. And let's go into a field group here. We'll use homepage as an example. We use tabs to keep all the fields organized. Instead of labeling every field based on what section it belongs to, let's say, for example, here we would call it intro content and intro picture, which is kind of redundant. In this case, we would create a tab called intro and then just put content and picture under that tab. Just makes it easier to read and is not as redundant and easier to manage. Now, as far as tabs, if you click on Add Field and select the field tab, if you scroll towards the bottom, you'll see the tab and you can create a tab and label it. Again, labeling is important when it comes to tabs. We usually label it based on the section of the page that the fields belong to. In this example, we have an intro section and a services section. You don't want to just call it tab 1 or tab 2 or section 1 or section 2. You want it to be as clear as possible so that whenever somebody's managing the content, they know exactly what they're updating. Number 3, again, naming convention, but this time for the fields, similar to the field groups, but this time for the fields. Again, you want to be as clear as possible when it comes to naming the fields. For example, in this case, we have the intro section that has content and picture. You don't want to call it, for example, block 1 or block 2 or some kind of general name that is not clear as to what type of content you're editing. So you want to be as clear as possible. You want to have it to be exactly what the content is. In the intro section, we have content and picture. And if you click on content and go to presentation, we also sometimes put instructions in there to be even more clear. So this would be the content on the left side. And if you go to picture and presentation, again, there are some instructions in there that says the picture on the right side. And number 4 is better admin UI. And what I mean by that is I'm going to use the page home as an example. We want to organize the fields in a way where it's easier to read and easier to manage. By default, everything is kind of stacked on top of each other in advanced custom fields. So let's go to pages and we're going to look at home. As you can see here on the intro, we have the content with the description and we have the picture. And under services, we have a repeater field, title, description, button, and icon. And the button says add row. Once you click on add row, we have a new row that looks like a table. Again, title, description, button, and icon, whatever fields that we assigned to that repeater field. But we want to change this around a little bit so that, first of all, it's a little bit more clear as to what the button labels are, and just organize this a little bit nicer so that it's easier to read and easier to manage. Let's go ahead and remove this, and we're going to go back to our field group. So first thing you want to do is go to under intro, presentation, and we're going to change the width of the content field. Let's just put 60 here. And for the picture, we're going to put the remaining 40% out of the 100. And also the preview size, whenever we use picture or image fields, we use the smallest possible. And in this case, will be a thumbnail. We don't want huge pictures in the admin interface when we're editing the page. And under services, the first thing we want to do is under presentation, instead of saying add row, we want to change the label to add service, so that it's a little bit more clear as to what exactly you're adding when you click on the button. And the second thing you want to do is we want to change the table layout to something nicer. So let's go ahead and click on title, presentation. We're going to change this to 50%. Short description also 50%. And in this case, I know that the short description is actually only maybe about 3 or 4 rows long. So we're going to change the default 8 to, let's say, 4 in this case. And the button, we're also going to do 50%. And icon also 50%. And again, use the smallest possible image. And we want to change the layout to block instead of table. And let's save this out. And if we go back to the home page and refresh, as you can see, we have a much nicer layout. And this kind of reflects what's going to be in the front end. So we have the content on the left, picture on the right. And if we click on services, and we have the button that says add service, then we have the title, short description, button, and icon. And it's just nicer looking, easier to manage. And there you have it, 4 principles that we follow to keep things a little bit more organized and easier to manage. And let's go ahead and summarize really quick. So number 1, the labels for the field groups, CPT, global, page, and template, based on what type of field group we're creating. Number 2 would be usage of tabs whenever needed or whenever possible to keep the fields organized. And number 3 would be the labeling of the fields itself. And number 4, better admin UI, just creating a nicer interface for the admin when managing the content. And I hope these principles will help you better organize your advanced custom fields in your projects. And if you have any other principles that you follow in your projects, feel free to share them in the comments. And yeah, see you in the next video.